K9SL Live. I have none other than, or like as Oscar likes to call him, the Nepo Poppy, one of our head judges, Rich Akina. What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Just freaking wrapped up my birthday and everything, so we're back to normal life. And after all that, the fun stuff that came with our pro camp and then the workshops and everything.
Nice.
Let's see what this was. So for those who may not uh who haven't seen maybe Rich on these before, Rich is another one of our head judges. They when we're in California and Gilroy, and even you went out to do the first. I want to say that was the first one to do was in Florida, right? That was the first workshop we did outside of.
Yeah, Florida was the first one. I think it was Memphis after that, or Texas.
Yeah, so that would be you did the actual first out of state street league workshop, and not even just like out of state, but like the opposite end of the country and end of the country.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty cool to leave the rain and go into some heat.
Yeah, you did you did leave during like that's it. Yeah, you when we had the California tsunami season, Rich was out in Florida. Well, but the cool thing about that is you got to see what people you got to experience things for people who really never saw any street league things too. I guess what was your takeaway from all that? What did you take away from being out in Florida and working with the teams? Because you didn't even just do a street league workshop, you did a street league workshop, and then you helped out with some of the law enforcement teams with our decoys, Courtney Wolf and Chris Corley.
Yeah, it was definitely cool, to see the interest in the sport, across country, and the excitement to get it going. They had some pretty talented handlers and some nice dogs out there. And then, it was just a pleasure to work with the canines out there with the Orange County Department.
I know I sent that photo of all you guys to like Matt Wilson over at Ray Allen. Shout out to our sponsors, Ray Allen. And I was like, dude, I was looking at the size of this group. I was like, that was pretty dope. Like, seeing like the pictures that you got of all you guys there, the street league stuff, and then all the ones that um we thought they were there for the law enforcement. That's pretty awesome to see. And then
Yeah, it's always fun to help with the problem solving and stuff like that for sure.
yeah, so let's break into like some of your training and stuff. So I know you're the highest level certification you could do with NEPOPO, right? The gold is
Yeah, so
gold.
I'm a gold school graduate. I have the opportunity to do the gold school multiplicator. So anybody that passes the new silver school, I'm gonna be holding the gold schools eventually. Once we get kind of things going out here settled in.
Awesome. And then for those who don't know, Rich is literally like right down the street. We're like I think we're like 5 minutes away from each other.
Yeah,
When it
nice
comes
little
to
walk.
where yeah, well that would mean I don't know. Maybe you and I could probably make that walk and be okay. I don't know, I don't know if anyone else wants to take that stroll in Gilroy. So he's right down there. So if anyone is interested in looking or finding a Kina K9, or it's at a Happy Tail, and they're literally right off the freeway down the street too. So gets to learn all that fun stuff too. So I know we're sending some clients that way who want to learn how
Nice.
to use all that. As I tell Rich, I was like, all I know is it goes zap zap. I don't know all the other fun things about it. So yeah, obviously that was a little bit off topic, but we also do. So you've been a part of multiple workshops we've had already here in California for Street Week. What would you say like one of the bigger differences you've noticed from doing them now from Street Week, or at least the progression of workshop from Street Week, the first ones we've done, to going to Florida, to even the one we just completed about a week ago?
Just iron out the small details, just making sure that there's a little bit more clarity of what we can provide, what the judges are looking for, and just a little bit more of the prep of like the understanding of like leading into the trial, what to make sure you're planning for, and the level that you should be at before you start to walk onto the field, and just making sure that they're comfortable and they're enjoying their time with their dogs.
I think that the last one we just did, I was pretty happy with that one. I was like, oh man, like this is it just kind of ironed out smooth, a lot of prep going into. I still always tell people, like, if you're looking to get into street league, if you can get into a workshop that has yourself or Oscar or one of the judges, like you hop on that like ASAP, because just the stuff, not even just on the street league like style of training or like getting ready for sport, just some of the stuff that you guys were able to help the client, the people who are there, the handlers, troubleshoot by just giving a different perspective and just understanding, right? We saw a lot of progression in the handlers. It was really cool to watch that.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. When you see it start to click on like the second day, you start to see them putting it together and kind of hitting that rhythm with their dog for sure.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. The 2 day, especially for me, by the time that when you and Oscar got there, my social battery was gone. So I was like, thank God, Rich and Oscar are
Well,
here, so I can.
that pro camp was pretty serious, though. I stopped in and I felt guilty just for watching. And I was like, oh,
You so you showed up towards the end of the cert, right? Or you were there for the
I
cert, right?
showed up on the second day. Yeah, so Friday I stopped in right before the shirts. I left right when you guys were handing off the shirts.
Yeah, because that was pretty wild. That was a fun one. I like, just as like you were talking about like the workshops becoming more progressive and kind of cleaning things up. I'm learning now with doing the pro camps and the certs, like how to make it a little more proficient and a little more clean. And I'm liking the progression that we're all kind of making with it too, just on the logistical side. Because it's just going to get better and better if this was like our first ones.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the level of dedication that all the decoys are showing, and the clarity and understanding that they have to stay consistent between, the whole trial and present the same picture to every dog is very important for sure.
I think that was one of the cool things that you guys were talking to the handlers during the workshop, was not even just the stuff that you do on the training field, right? Like you guys were just like giving them a lot of like, I don't want to say like free game, but like you guys were giving them a lot of information on things to do off the field before they get on the field, even after, just overall general training things. And that you can start to see like, I was watching some of like, because once when people hear the same information or like hear like the same person talk all over again, it just kind of like bouncing off a wall. And like it was just really cool. And plus also I sound like this all the time, very monotone, so probably lull people to sleep. But it was just really cool to see like stuff just like click in, like from like whatever you were saying to them or like Oscar like that. I thought that was really awesome to see. And then just to see the handlers all happy about their dogs doing good, because by the end of Sunday, we were able to wrap a little bit earlier, but I mean, everyone was happy. There was, people were writing stuff down, and that was a really progressive workshop. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the next ones we do and how well, because even I think even just as how the sport is progressing, we're seeing a progression in training too. With the people that come in from the first workshop, the type of people that we brought into the last workshop, and how much more, I want to, like you even mentioned with the decoys, how much more dedication and how much more like street league is becoming more prevalent in people's actual training styles now.
Mhm.
Like that was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's always cool. And again, like you're seeing all the little like tips that you're getting from not just Oscar and myself, but we have the other decoys present as well. So they're giving away a lot of free game as well. Like Corley was giving a lot of information as well.
Yeah, that's one thing too. So we're implementing a decoy judge coming help out the help you guys out now, and that's going to be Chris Corley, who runs Primal Florida and is out there. He did the workshop with you guys. Uh, for people who don't know who Chris Corley, just look for the most talkative, happy decoy we have, because that'll be Chris Corley. But yeah, I think that's really cool, and how we're going to add that in. Just because it's the decoys are on the field, they can see things where like maybe like up close and personal, where maybe the judges can't really get in there. So it'll be really cool to implement that new role for people to watch that, because it's just going to be one of those things where like, okay, we learned this from these last few trials, this worked, okay, like now let's go ahead and add this and see what, just kind of build it up and make it a little more, I guess, consistent and more
Yeah,
clear.
I mean, it definitely addresses all different perspectives, from the obedience side to the protection side and how the bite is and how well the dog is biting. That's something that you can't really see from the judge's perspective. Like you haven't
Yeah.
the decoy be a little bit more prevalent and kind of showing us like, hey, this is what I seen, and like breaking it down a little bit better for like all the handlers.
But I'd like that, really like that part too, because for the most part, in the last few trials, we've been able to kind of see what the grips look like on the dog.
Hmm.
But like you can't really, there's a certain thing that you feel when a dog is on the bite, like and you have to be on it, right? Just like see where the dedication is, what the grips feel like. And I like
Hmm.
that we're adding that in there because now, and that's another reason why we kind of keep our circle of decoy, our athletes really now, because we're calling them pro athletes. We're keeping that very limited in the way that like that way we can build their skill, that way they can understand this is what we're looking for, and it can be consistent across the board. So just another additive to our competitors and our handlers. But we have quite the trial season ahead of us, with the first year that we're trying to do at least four.
Nice.
So it'd be California. I know people are wanting to do a north and south, but I think it's probably gonna be best to just do one in Cali and then go into. I know Florida might be the first, stop, because I know Corley is really pushing that, and then Memphis and Texas is just going to be super hot. And then ending the season in New York. So a little bit of a busy season. I'm not too sure if we'll be able to cram in another workshop, but I know after the last one and people seeing some of the stuff we put on social media, people were really happy. And even with some of the handlers, that all the handlers were really happy posting about it, talking about how, it was like a lot of information and everything. So I'm really excited to see the progression going forward, with, all the street league progress. And because now too, like you guys, the judges, well, you, Oscar, and Corley are gonna be working on some of that rule book stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, like we're just still, ironing out those small details, making sure it's a little bit cleaner of understanding like the black and white rules and stuff like that, and how things are going to be scored on the scorecard for sure.
That's what I think. That the first couple times we talked about the rule book when after trials, and people are like, it doesn't make sense, and I'm like looking at people like, look at I am simple as they come. Like, if this makes sense, and I wrote it, I was like, if this makes sense to me, then like I don't know what you're talking about. Like in the Twilight Zone, I'm like 15 feet, 6 feet, 4 feet, like that. But apparently we need to be more clear, which my I'm staying out of that one. That is all you guys.
Yeah, definitely. We got to go back and forth between Oscar and Corley a little bit more for sure, though.
I think well, Oscar and his group, they're filming stuff down there, right? They're filming the routine.
That's what I heard. I haven't got any confirmation from Oscar or anything like that, but definitely, I'm looking forward to seeing what he comes up with.
We bring those in, and now with the additive of teaching the guys the leg bites and everything like the decoy stuff, and now that people know that we have dogs that can catch legs safely, just having that different element of bringing in the different sports. Because when we all kind of started talking about this, the idea with Street League was so people can cross train in other sports and not affect what they're doing too. So now that we have the new batch of decoys too. You check some of those guys out. Some of those guys got some pretty good lower body game, man. Like a lot of quick movements.
Yeah, no, definitely. They had a lot of talent on the field, and it was fun to watch.
It's always that's like one of the most trippiest things to when we do like those pro camps, and like we're sitting there, and I'm looking around. I'm like, you guys flew here and like to do all this stuff. I mean, I get it. It's fun. Like I'm if I were in the same position, I would do the same thing. But it's always just pretty cool, especially because we had such a large variety just from not even. I mean, California was the smallest amount. I think a lot was coming from that mid South East Coast region, even
And we had one
Texas.
from Ecuador, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, the first international cert won.
Yeah, that was cool.
So a lot more to come because I know next year, Mexico City. Shout out to Peck Gym. They want to put a seminar, or they're working on putting a street league seminar there and possibly becoming a hub. So we'll
Oh,
be
nice.
international as of next year. Hopefully, as of next year. I don't know how logistically it's all going to work out and with traveling and everything like that going over there, but all I know is
Should be
this.
fun.
All I know, all I know is this: I am not driving to Mexico. Like, I barely lasted going driving to LA, and then we went to, well, Aaron booked this like really awesome place for my birthday in like Gualala, California, which I didn't know was a thing.
How you
Um,
say that again?
Gualala. Every time I think about it, it's like that. What's that one rap song? The Uchi Walla, Uchi, the Jay-Z song or whatever. I was like, just think about that. But that was like 3.5 hours. It turned into 5 hours, and I'm like sitting in the car just fuming and like, get me the hell out of here. I need my electrolytes. That's an inside joke, so no one's gonna get that one. Food. So I guess a couple of things, with the, if you were to give tips to people out there interested in street league, what would be some of the main key factors or key things to start implementing in training? Anything that you would say, being the judge talking to like a novice handler.
I mean, the biggest thing I would say is like you can do a lot of this stuff without the decoys present, to kind of set yourself up for success, getting certain pictures of like your indirect reward and your direct rewards going, equipment association would be another big one that I see a lot of people kind of forget about. But I mean, biggest thing is just making sure you're having fun out there with the dog. I know everybody gets stuck with it being a trial and being so serious with it. But again, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. And for everyone who hasn't been to one of our workshops, we have fun. Sometimes I bug the judges with a pool noodle and we just try to have a good time. But so that was a really cool thing too. That you talked about the indirect and direct rewards and setting it up and kind of creating the game. Because I think a lot of the misunderstanding is because our OB has 4 decoys, people kind of just get like hooked on that.
Mhm.
Right. And I stress to like a lot of I stress to, our club members, I was like, just you can practice the routine without, a decoy present or, just equipment on the field, just whatever, maybe just practice the pattern because the pattern itself, that can be confusing to certain people too. They can
Yeah,
like
I
just
mean,
forget it, right?
for sure. I mean, it's really, just making sure you have the basis of the four square and just understanding left, right, left, right. And then you can, if you're an old school video game, up, down, select, start.
There you go.
But
There's
definitely like being able to cycle from food to toys, to different types of toys on the field, to kind of help associate the difference of different decoys, and still kind of keeping that engagement on the handler is something that you definitely need to keep in mind, and not try to do that as soon as you see like 4 decoys and your dog is overly aroused and has no neutrality, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that I think the part that a lot of people forget is that, let's say you're training with 4 decoys and then your dog messes up and or like, there's a miscommunication there and your dog ends up nailing one of the decoys. Like I tell a lot of our clients, like once it's an option, it's always an option.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like, you could actually be stepping, maybe taking 1 or 2 steps too far, before you, like you mentioned earlier, building proper clarity and having a proper reward system or scaling system in your rewards and everything too. So
yep, for sure.
lots of fun things you can do by yourself with your dog besides sticking around decoys. Well, shoot, man, I don't want to keep you too long. I want to thank you for taking your time. Where can people find you online, website, social media?
Uh,
Let them know.
yeah, so website akinak9.net. We also have the Happy Pet Tail at uh, happypettail.com. IG Akina K9 underscore K9. And then, yeah, I mean, we're right down the street from you guys. So if anybody ever wants to stop by, you have boxes here for
Yep.
those positions and stuff like that. But yeah,
I tell everybody, like, that's where literally, if you see the boxes that we use in our facility, they are from Akina and they're down the street from us. Rich also has, do you guys have aprons and your training vest on?
we have our apron still in stock. Yeah, and then we have our boarding. If anybody needs a boarding for any type of dog, we do that as well.
So they got aprons, training vests. I have some. I don't know. I can't wear them all the time. I have no clue how Rich does it with the heat because I sweat through my shirts like crazy. Really good equipment that we've used use over there. And like I said, they're right down the right in Gilroy, right down the street from us too. So make sure you guys check those guys out online and in person. And then if someone does want to buy a vest or anything that aren't in Cali, do you guys do online ordering or shipping like that?
Yeah. So you can go. We have a link tree tied to our IG. So if you go into my bio, you'll find a little link tree selection, and then we can ship stuff out to you guys for sure.
Hell yeah, I would
We do
100%
ship boxes.
because
Boxes are expensive though to ship. It's funny. I had a couple people interested, and I was like, it's more to ship the box than it is to buy the box.
hey, that's no joke though, man. We Aaron's brother makes those beds like the one that we have like in our house. And
Yeah.
the beds aren't really like, I mean, they're kind of expensive because they're handcrafted, but like the shipping on that just because of the weight or something is like damn near the same price of the bed, if not like more.
Yep. Yep.
But highly advise you guys checking out those boxes. That's what we use all the time. Before we wrap up, make sure you guys take a look at our sponsors, rayallen.com/K9SL. Use the discount code Primal10, all caps, for additional discounts. And yeah, thanks for taking the time, brother. I know you're busy out there.